Welcome back. My adoptive parents framed me for a crime I didn't commit and threw me out over false claims. But when they needed money years later, they came back to me. I, 31 male, have wanted to share this story for years. It's a long story that completely destroyed my relationship with my family and changed my life forever. I know some parts might be hard to believe, but I wish this was just fiction. I'm not my parents' biological child. My real parents were my dad's cousins, James and Lisa. They died in a car crash when I was 2. My current parents, Martin, 58 male, and Sasha, 56 female, took me in because they were the closest relatives. They already had 2 kids, Tom, 35 male, and Anna, 33 female. From the very beginning, it was painfully clear I wasn't really part of the family. Martin and Sasha always treated their biological kids better than me. It wasn't anything extreme or obviously abusive, just constant small reminders that I wasn't their real son. When Tom and Anna got new clothes for school, I got their old hand-me-downs. They got big birthday parties with friends and family. I got a grocery store cake and maybe one small gift. If all 3 of us misbehaved, I was always punished more harshly. Tom and Anna got cars when they turned 16. I was told to save up and buy my own. The worst part was how they kept my biological parents' memory from me. They refused to talk about James and Lisa, wouldn't show me pictures, and got angry if I asked questions. They told everyone I was their adopted son, but never mentioned who my real parents were. So when I was younger, I used to cry at night, missing parents I couldn't even remember. Martin and Sasha would tell me to stop being dramatic and be grateful they took me in. Despite everything, I worked really hard in school. I knew education was my ticket to independence. I got straight A's, was captain of the debate team, and got accepted to a really good college. But when acceptance letters came, Martin and Sasha refused to help with tuition. They said they needed to save money for Tom and Anna's future since they were the real family. I took out loans and worked multiple part-time jobs to pay for school. College was actually going great until my final year. I was 21 and working at this cafe near campus to pay rent. The owner was nice and the pay was decent. That's when Rachel female started working there. She was friendly at first, maybe too friendly. She kept asking me out and getting touchy during shifts. I turned her down politely, explaining I had a girlfriend, Emma. Rachel didn't take rejection well. She started spreading rumors about me at work, telling people I was creepy, and followed her home. One day in December, during finals week, Rachel came to work crying hysterically. She told everyone I had attacked her at a party the previous weekend. She had bruises on her arms and seemed terrified of me. This was completely false. I hadn't even been to any parties that month because I was studying for finals and working extra shifts. But Rachel had bruises and a very convincing story. My manager fired me on the spot without even hearing my side. Rachel's parents contacted my parents without even asking for my version of events or checking if I was even at any party. Martin and Sasha believed everything. They just showed up at my apartment, screaming and causing a scene. Sasha was calling me disgusting and saying she always knew I'd turn out bad because I wasn't really their son, that I probably inherited bad blood from my real parents. Martin actually punched me in the face right there in front of all my neighbors. They threw my stuff onto the lawn and told everyone in our family and community about Rachel's accusations. I lost everything in a matter of days. My job was gone. My apartment manager asked me to leave because of complaints from other tenants, and my reputation was completely destroyed. Most of my friends stopped talking to me. Even Tom and Anna, who knew Rachel from when she tried starting drama with other coworkers, stayed completely silent. The only person who stood by me was my girlfriend, Emma, who knew me well enough to know I could never do something like that. The police got involved and started investigating. They found major problems with Rachel's story pretty quickly. Security footage from the cafe showed I was actually working a late shift on the night she claimed I attacked her. Other students confirmed I hadn't been at any parties. Her story kept changing when police questioned her. Finally, after about 3 weeks of investigation, Rachel broke down and admitted she made everything up because she was angry I rejected her and was happy with Emma. But by then, the damage to my life was already done. Martin and Sasha never apologized for believing Rachel over me. They just pretended nothing happened and got angry when I brought it up. Tom and Ann acted like I was causing drama by not letting it go. The whole family treated me like I was the one who did something wrong by making them look bad. Emma's family took me in and helped me finish my degree. I cut contact with my entire family after graduation. I changed my phone number, blocked them on social media, and focused on building my own life. Over the next few years, I worked incredibly hard and eventually started my own tech company. Emma and I got married and now have twins. We built a good life despite everything my family did. Last week, after 10 years of absolutely no contact, Martin and Sasha somehow found me on LinkedIn. Apparently, they're in serious financial trouble. Tom started a business that failed badly and they spent their retirement savings trying to save it. Now they're struggling to pay their mortgage and basic bills. They want my help because I'm successful now. The worst part is they didn't even apologize for what they did. Their message just talked about how family needs to forgive each other and stand together in hard times. They acted like the past decade of no contact was just me being difficult, not a consequence of their actions. They didn't mention believing Rachel's lies or throwing me out or anything they did. I'm planning to just ignore them completely, but part of me wants to reply and tell them exactly why they'll never get a cent from me. Emma says I should just block them and move on with my life. She's worried engaging with them will just bring drama back into our lives. But I'm having trouble letting go of my anger. What should I do? Update 1. First, thanks to everyone for the supportive comments on my last post. You all helped me realize I'm not crazy for wanting to keep my distance. A lot has happened in the past 2 weeks and things have gotten way more complicated than I expected. After reading your comments, I decided to respond to my parents with a simple one-word message, no? I thought that would be the end of it, but I severely underestimated their ability to make my life difficult. That single word somehow triggered an absolute explosion of messages from various family members. Tom and Anna started harassing me on every social media platform they could find. They posted long rants about how I abandoned the family and became too good for my roots after getting successful. They called me selfish and heartless for not helping our parents in their time of need. My cousins started sharing their posts, adding comments about how money changed me and I forgot where I came from. It turns out my parents had been telling everyone a completely different version of why we stopped talking. According to them, I abandoned them right after college because I was too proud to acknowledge their sacrifices. They told everyone they supported me through college completely false. I have the student loan statements to prove it and that I cut contact because they couldn't afford to help me start my business. So they never mentioned Rachel or the false accusations or throwing me out of my apartment. I got angry, really angry after seeing dozens of relatives criticizing me on Facebook. I finally snapped and made a detailed post telling the full story. So I included screenshots of the police reports proving Rachel's lies, pictures of the bruises from when Martin punched me, and emails from my apartment manager asking me to leave because of my parent scene. I also posted proof that I paid for college myself, including my loan documents and pay stubs from my cafe job. This caused an absolutely massive family fight. Several relatives who'd completely shunned me for years suddenly started messaging with apologies. Apparently, my parents told everyone I had actually confessed to assaulting Rachel, and that's why they had to distance themselves from me. My cousins, aunts, and uncles all claimed they would have supported me if they'd known the truth. I don't believe them. They could have asked for my side of the story at any time in the past decade. But the biggest shock came from my Aunt Jane. She called me last night, really upset after seeing my Facebook post. She said she had to tell me something about my biological parents, James and Lisa. According to Jane, they didn't actually die in a simple car accident like I'd been told. They died under suspicious circumstances after a huge fight with Martin and Sasha over my custody. Jane explained that James and Lisa had been trying to get me back. Apparently, when they first let Martin and Sasha take me after the accident, it was supposed to be temporary while they dealt with some financial issues. But when they got back on their feet and wanted me back, Martin and Sasha refused. There was a big legal battle brewing. Jane had copies of letters where James and Lisa threatened to expose something about Martin, she doesn't know what. A week later, they died in a car crash when their brakes mysteriously failed. Jane kept quiet all these years because she was scared of Martin. He was a police officer at the time, and she says he made subtle threats about her own kids' safety if she ever talked about James and Lisa. But now she has evidence, old letters, documents, even a recording of a fight between James and Martin where Martin threatens to make them regret trying to take me back. I'm still trying to process all this information. Emma is freaking out. She thinks my parents might actually be dangerous and wants me to get a restraining order. I've hired a private investigator to look into my biological parents' death. I need to know the truth. Meanwhile, my parents are still demanding money, but now their tone has changed. They're making vague threats about revealing secrets about me if I don't help them. I honestly don't know what secrets they think they have. My life has been pretty straightforward since I cut contact. I think they're bluffing, but after what Jane told me, I'm not taking any chances. Tom sent me a weird message yesterday saying we need to talk about what really happened back then. When I asked what he meant, he got scared and blocked me. Anna hasn't posted anything since I shared the evidence about Rachel, and she's not returning my calls. I feel like I've opened a door that can't be closed. What started as my parents trying to guilt me into giving them money has turned into something much darker. Emma thinks we should move and change our numbers. Part of me wants to keep digging until I know everything, but another part is scared of what I might find. The private investigator starts work tomorrow. I've given him everything Jane sent me and all the information I have about my biological parents' death. He says there are a lot of red flags in the original accident report. I'll update when I know more. Right now I need to focus on keeping my family safe. Emma and the twins are my priority. If my parents really were capable of hurting James and Lisa, I don't want to underestimate what they might do now that I'm exposing their lies. Update: the private investigator finished his work, and what he found is worse than I imagined. I've been sitting on this information for a few days, trying to figure out how to even write about it. The initial police reports from my biological parents' accident showed clear signs of tampering. The brake lines in their car had been cut, not completely, but enough to fail after several minutes of driving. The investigator found photos from the crash site that were never included in the official report. They clearly showed the tampering, but these photos mysteriously disappeared from police evidence. The biggest red flag, Martin was the responding officer who handled the initial investigation. He wrote the official report and personally handled all the evidence. The investigator says this was a massive conflict of interest that should have never been allowed, especially since Martin had an obvious connection to the victims, but because Martin was well respected in the department, nobody questioned it. There were witnesses who saw Martin at James and Lisa's house the day before the accident. They had another huge fight about custody. Neighbors reported hearing threats and something breaking inside. One neighbor even wrote a statement about it, but it was never followed up on. SPI took all this evidence to the current police chief. She was horrified when she saw everything the investigator uncovered. The case has been officially reopened. Martin and Sasha are in full panic mode. They've stopped asking for money and hired a criminal defense lawyer instead. The biggest breakthrough came from Tom. After the police started investigating, he completely broke down. He called Anna in hysterics, but he didn't know she had me on speakerphone. He started talking about something he overheard the night before the accident. He was 15 at the time and supposed to be asleep, but he heard Martin and Sasha in the kitchen. According to Tom, they were discussing something about making sure we keep him, and they'll never take him away. Sasha was crying about doing something terrible, but Martin kept saying it was the only way. Tom hung up when he realized I heard everything. Anna finally broke her silence and came to see me. She was crying, saying she always felt guilty about Rachel but was too scared to stand up to our parents. Apparently, Sasha paid Rachel $55,000 to make up the assault story. They wanted me gone because I had started asking questions about James and Lisa during my college years. I'd even mentioned hiring a private investigator to look into their death once I graduated. They couldn't risk me discovering the truth. Rachel reached out, too. Her guilt finally got to her. She sent me a long email confessing everything. She still had the check Sasha gave her and copies of text messages planning the false accusation. She's willing to testify about their involvement. Rachel said Sasha approached her after overhearing her complain about me rejecting her. They planned everything: which night to claim it happened, what story to tell, even where to get the bruises. Rachel's brother punched her arm a few times to make it look real. The police are taking this very seriously now. They're looking at charging Martin and Sasha with multiple crimes: evidence tampering, obstruction of justice, conspiracy related to the false accusation, and possibly involvement in James and Lisa's deaths. Rachel is also facing charges for her role in the false accusation scheme. Most of the family has turned against Martin and Sasha. Now even their most loyal defenders can't ignore evidence of them plotting false accusations and possibly being involved in deaths. But honestly, I don't trust any of them anymore. Where were they when I needed support? Why did they so easily believe the worst about me? Tom and Anna keep trying to apologize, saying they were just kids when James and Lisa died and were too scared to speak up about Rachel later. I told them being scared doesn't excuse letting their brother be falsely accused and thrown out. They had 10 years to tell the truth. Emma's worry about safety turned out to be justified. We've installed security cameras and hired private security for our home and office. The police suggested we be extra careful until the investigation is complete. We're looking at houses in other states, planning to move as soon as this legal situation is resolved. I never imagined my simple post about parents wanting money would uncover all this. Sometimes I wish I'd never responded to that LinkedIn message, but then I think about James and Lisa, my real parents who died trying to get me back, and I know they deserve justice. The investigation is ongoing. I'll update when there's a resolution. Update 3. This will be my final update. The investigation finally concluded last month, and I wanted to wait until everything was legally settled before posting. While the police couldn't gather enough direct evidence to prove Martin and Sasha caused my biological parents' deaths, they found plenty of other crimes. Martin was charged with evidence tampering, obstruction of justice, and abuse of power related to the original crash investigation. Sasha was charged with conspiracy related to Rachel's false accusations. Rachel faced charges for filing false police reports and perjury. Martin took a plea deal. He lost his pension and was banned from any future law enforcement work. The deal required him to reveal everything he knew about James and Lisa's death, but he stuck to his story that he only covered up evidence to protect the family after the fact. The detective thinks he's still lying, but we can't prove it. Sasha initially tried to claim she was just a victim of Martin's manipulation, but Rachel's evidence destroyed the defense. The text messages showed Sasha was actually the one who planned everything. She got 18 months probation and had to pay a significant fine. Her employer fired her when the story hit local news. The financial fallout destroyed them. Legal fees ate up their savings and they had to sell their house, the one they kept reminding me I was lucky to live in as a child. Tom and Anna tried to help but couldn't afford to support them. Now they're living in a small apartment and working retail jobs. It's a huge fall from their former middle-class lifestyle. Tom and Anna finally gave me a real apology. Tom admitted he'd known about Rachel's lies from the beginning. Sasha had asked him to help find someone willing to make accusations against me, but he refused. He said he kept quiet because he was afraid of losing his inheritance. Anna confessed she actually helped Sasha contact Rachel, but she claimed she didn't know exactly what they were planning. I told them both that understanding their actions doesn't excuse them. Some betrayals can't be forgiven. The old family home was sold last week. I drove by during moving day and saw Martin and Sasha loading their stuff into a U-Haul. Sasha saw me and started walking over, but I drove away. Later that night, they both sent long emails begging for another chance. Sasha wrote about how losing her home made her understand how I felt when they threw me out. Martin claimed losing his pension made him realize how wrong he was to destroy my reputation. I didn't respond. Instead, I used my tech company's resources to start a foundation supporting victims of false accusations. We help with legal fees and rebuilding lives after false allegations. The first case we took was a college student in a situation very similar to mine. Helping him clear his name felt like turning my pain into something positive. Emma and I moved to another state with our kids. We bought a beautiful house near a good school. Last week, Martin and Sasha somehow got our new address and sent a handwritten letter. They wrote about wanting to meet their grandchildren and trying to make amends. They included pictures of me as a child, probably thinking it would make me emotional. I sent everything back with a final message. You killed my parents. Twice. First physically, then their memory. You made me feel worthless my entire childhood. You destroyed my life over lies because you couldn't risk losing control. You're not my parents and you'll never meet my children. Don't contact me again. Some people might think I'm being too harsh, that family deserves forgiveness. But real family doesn't frame you for assault. Real family doesn't cover up deaths. Real family stands by you when everyone else believes lies. Emma and our kids are my family now. We're happy, successful, and most importantly, free from toxic people who only care about themselves. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply living well and making sure your abusers can never hurt you again. If you like this video, hit that like and subscribe button.